One. Blast off.
We're live, I think. Yes?
Yes, we're live. Yes.
Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the first part of what's really a two-part board meeting for tonight. The first portion is what we have every year at this time. It's required to be the first Tuesday of July, and it is our reorganizational meeting where we renew contracts and we discuss we accept or we vote on some new replacement contracts, and where we also have decide on welcome our new board officer, in this case, one new board officer, and where we elect our board officers for the year, and some other interesting announcements going forward. So
Nora, hang on a second. I don't
I do not. We're not live. We're not
good.
live.
I was just practicing anyway.
We are not live, guys.
Hold on. I'm texting John. Hold on.
Take two.
How do you read?
Sees. Hold on.
Oh, actually, Mike, now that I look, you call the meeting to order, not me. I was stepping on toes there.
Because you're not the president right now.
Dr. Hines, do you want to do that, or do you want me to call the meeting to order?
I can. So I would call the meeting to order, and then I'll just turn it over to you, right? As far as you going down the list.
Okay. Salute first, and then Julie says we're live. Julie says we're live. So are we live? We're live. We're live.
Okay.
All right.
We're live.
All right. So
from Port Washington. It is the reorg meeting. I'm taking Dave's place. I'm missing him already.
all right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our reorganizational meeting. So what we're going to start with first at our reorg meeting is we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. So just want to see if the flag's going to come up first.
Because
Okay.
we have it?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't see it.
We're going to do it anyway. Here we go.
Wait.
Hold on.
Don't just.
I pledge allegiance
Okay, we got it.
to the flag of the United States of America
and to the
republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Thank you, everyone. At this time, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Ms. Callahan for roll call.
Thank you, Dr. Hines. Mrs. Johnson.
I'm here.
Ms. Weisberg.
Here.
Ms. Brooks.
Here.
Ms. Epstein.
Here.
Ms. Gilliar.
Here.
Mr. Greenstein.
Last, but here.
Well, I didn't hear Ms. Bays before.
I'm here. No, I didn't hear my name, but I'm here.
Okay. I believe now we really take you would have Dr. Hines take nominations for board president. And after that, then the new board president would take the nominations for any other officers. And then following that, everyone will read their oath of office.
Two things before we proceed with that. At least on the agenda, which we could mix it up. It actually says that we are, Rachel and Julie are being sworn in first. And I also don't have a card. I don't know if that was, I missed that.
I sent cards to everyone in the packet. we did not have titles on them specifically because we had to await the result of the vote. But certainly, if anyone doesn't have their oath form in front of them, I can read it and people can simply indicate their position and affirm by raising their hand as we go through the process.
Okay, I
That might
do
be a
not,
better way. Maybe that's better, Mary. I mean, we did get them, but that might be better if you do it that way.
Okay, I would ask that however this, the vote turns out, that everyone find those oath documents or let me know if they don't have them. They do have to be signed and filed in the office. But if you don't mind, Dr. Hines, I will ask for nominations for board president.
Thank you.
I would like to nominate, oh, were you asking? I think she was asking.
I
So
am asking, yes.
okay, I would like to nominate Nora Johnson.
thank you, Beth.
Is there a second for that nomination?
I will second it, Emily.
Okay, do we have any other nominations for president? Could we then take a vote on the nomination for Nora Johnson as president? I will read the names. Mrs. Johnson,
Yes,
Mrs. Weisberg,
Yes.
Mrs. Bays,
Yes,
Mrs. Brooks,
Yes.
Mrs. Epstein,
Yes.
Ms. Gilliar,
Yes.
Mr. Greenstein.
Yes.
Congratulations, Ms. Johnson. The meeting is all yours.
thank you so much. And thank you so much to my fellow board members who have supported me throughout this very unique year. It's been really, really wonderful working with you. I look forward to working with the soon-to-be newest member once sworn in. And let's hope we have a good, strong year. We're now going to turn to the election of the first vice president. And let me just say this before we go through it. This year, for the first time, we decided that we'd like to, as a board, that we are going to have two vice presidents. It was a discussion that we had over a period of time. Due to the pandemic, the work of the board has increased tremendously, just as everybody's, work has increased. As you know, we have so many decisions now that have to be made regarding returning to school, what that's going to look like, the educational plan, social emotional issues for children and for the students and the families. And there's just, with the constant changes that we've had just in the last 4 months, and anticipating that it's really not going to get any smoother or easier, but we want to do even better moving forward, we felt that adding a third officer was something that we would like to try for this year. And if it works, continue doing it. We feel that it's in the best interest of the community. So we are going to tonight elect two vice presidents. As for the first vice president, I'd like to nominate Beth Weisberg. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Oh, Mary has to go.
Mrs. Johnson,
Yes.
Mrs. Weisberg,
Yes.
Mrs. Bays,
yes,
Ms. Brooks,
Yes.
Ms. Epstein,
Yes.
Ms. Gilliar,
Yes.
Mr. Greenstein.
Yes.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Beth.
Thank you, Nora. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it.
And now for the second vice president position. Would somebody like to make a nomination?
I'd like to nominate Emily Bays.
Okay, Emily Bays. Do I have a second?
I'll second Deborah.
Okay, is there any other nominee? I forgot to do that for the vice president, but is there any other nominee for the second vice president? No. Okay. All those in favor of Ms. Bays for second vice president, answer when Ms. Callahan calls the roll.
Right, Mrs. Johnson,
Yes.
Mrs. Weisberg,
Yes.
Mrs. Bays,
Yes.
Ms. Gilliar,
Yes.
Ms. Brooks,
Yes.
Ms. Epstein,
Yes.
Mr. Greenstein.
Yes.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Emily.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, and I look forward to working with everybody even more closely next year.
Okay, great. We're now up to item 11 on the, actually it's, 11.1 or 11 on the on the reorg agenda. And that is the adoption of the 2021 reorganizational agenda. Do I have a second for the adoption of the agenda?
I'll second.
Okay, I think Mrs. Callahan has to call the roll for the vote.
Yep. Mrs. Johnson,
Yes.
Mrs. Weisberg,
Yes.
Mrs. Bays,
Yes.
Ms. Brooks,
Yes.
Ms. Epstein,
Yes.
Ms. Gilliar,
Yes.
Mr. Greenstein. You were muted, but okay, I thought that's what you
And my space is supposed to unmute me, but it doesn't seem to work.
said. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Now I'm gonna make a motion for.
Nora?
Yeah.
Nora, we didn't do 2.9, which was the administration of the oath of office.
Oh, right, but that's why, yeah, sorry, guys. It's on mine actually before the officers. But in any event, that was a terrible oversight.
I think it's the officers and the 2 new trustees, right?
And the superintendent,
And the superintendent.
right. So would you like me to read?
Oh,
it
you're right.
Line by
Crazy.
line or,
Yeah, line by line, please.
okay, and then everybody will repeat after me? Is that how we'll do this?
That's fine with me.
Mary, maybe you can just hold it up in front of your screen and they can read it.
Well, let's see. Can anybody read it?
Nope.
Not on your screen from where I can see. It's not in front
It's also not going to stay because if other people start to talk, other screens are going to get bigger. I don't think that's going to work.
Okay. I do solemnly swear or affirm
I
I
do
do solemnly swear or affirm
Affirm.
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will
That
I will
support
support the
support
Constitution of the United
of the
States,
United States,
the Constitution of the State of New York,
the
the
Constitution
Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
that
and
I
that I will
faithfully
faithfully
discharge
discharge
duties
the duties
of the office of, and you say either president, first vice president, superintendent, trustee,
and the
office
office
of the
of
vice president
president
second vice president
at Port Washington Union Free School District, Town of North Hempstead,
at Port
Port
Washington.
Washington
Union Free
Union
School
Free
District,
School
School
District,
District,
Town
Town of
Town
North
of
Hempstead,
North Hempstead,
Nassau County, New York,
uh-oh,
Nassau County,
Nassau County, New
New
York,
York,
or Washington, New York.
Port,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the
According to
best
the
of my
According to the best
ability.
of my ability.
Nora, I don't think
Mary,
that,
you're muted.
I don't think that I think Rachel and Julie needed to do this too, and I didn't see
I
that.
know, well, yes.
They did.
Did they?
They
Yeah.
did.
We get to watch them now.
Item 4, that's how got me a little mixed
Okay.
up before. It was, you know, I'm a creature of habit and it came before the officers, but now we need to get back to that. And we need to administer the oath of office to our returning board member, Rachel Gilliar, and our newly elected board member, Julie Epstein. Very happy to have both of you on board. If Mary could administer the oath, unless they were more prepared and printed them out and can read them themselves. Oh, they
He's definitely
know. Yeah.
prepared.
No, okay. Shall I just go
I have
ahead?
I have it, but I can do it either way.
As can I.
Julie has it too.
Mhm.
I
You
would
have
suggest then that they should read it then if
Yes.
they have it. So Julie, go first.
Hi.
I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of trustee at Port Washington Union Free School District, Town of North Hempstead, Nassau County, Port Washington, New York, according to the best of my abilities.
Rachel?
Yep. I do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of a member of the Board of Education of the Port Washington Union Free School District, Town of North Hempstead, Nassau County, Port Washington, New York, according to the best of my ability.
Thank you.
It's just been brought to my attention by one of the lawyers on the board that we may have to re-vote for the officers because neither of our newest board members were officially sworn in. So they did not legally vote. Or
We
should we
did
keep
still
it-
have a
Can we
quorum.
just have them affirm their votes?
I actually think that it was close enough anyway, because do I really need to be sworn in? Because I was still also a sitting board member until the new people were sworn back in. I mean, we can redo it.
You're probably okay. Julie, maybe not.
Right. But even so, then it would still be 6 votes. 6 votes.
Well, I'm okay to leave it the way it is. It's still 5.
Should we just ask them both to reaffirm their votes now that they're sworn in?
Yeah, I would.
Yes.
Okay. Julie, do you reaffirm your votes for myself as president, Beth Weisberg as first vice president, and Emily Bays as second vice president?
I do.
Thank you. Rachel, we'll just, do
I do
you?
as well. Yes.
Okay. Does everybody feel that that's sufficient? Okay, good. Thank you. And maybe next year I'll, it's only the second time.
Well, this agenda has been in this format all the years that I have been here, and that question has never come up. I'm not saying it's not a valid concern, but we have always appointed or voted for the position of officers before we renewed the trustees or had the new trustees read their oath.
But it is in the order that I'm looking at it. I mean, it's a moot point at this point, but I'm looking at it. Item 4 is administer the oath to the new members and then call for nominations like 2 items down. So it wouldn't have come up, but Deb is a true lawyer through and through. So thank you for that. There's no more questions. We're in for a year, like it or not. Okay. I think we're up to now. What I would do is the consent agenda, if that's, unless anybody wants to pull anything out, but I was going to do consent agenda for items 12 through 67 on the reorg agenda. Does anybody have anything that they wanted to pull out and discuss, or should we go ahead and vote on that? Julie, do you have a question? Okay, I'm taking that as a yes. We'll do it that way. Mrs. Callahan, do I have, okay, I'm going to call for the adoption of items 12 through 67. Sorry, do I have a second?
I will. I'll second it.
Okay, Emily? And now Mary will do the roll for all those who are in favor. Or not?
Mrs. Johnson,
Yes.
Mrs. Weisberg,
Yes.
Mrs. Brooks,
Yes.
Mrs. Bays,
Yes.
Mrs. Epstein,
Yes.
Mrs. Gilliar,
Yes.
Mr. Greenstein.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, well, that actually concludes the portion of the meeting, which is the reorganizational meeting. And now we're moving on to our Board of Education meeting that is scheduled for 8 o'clock, and it's just a couple of minutes before that, so I think we're good. We've already, I believe, done the roll call and the pledge, so we don't need to repeat them. And we can move into the adoption of the tonight's agenda dated July 7th, 2020. Do I have a second?
I
Okay,
will.
Deb. Sorry, Mary, am I off?
No, I just didn't hear.
Oh, okay.
Mrs. Johnson,
Yes.
Mrs. Weisberg,
Yes.
Ms. Bays,
Yes.
Ms. Brooks,
Yes.
Mr. Greenstein,
Yes.
Ms. Gilliar,
Yes.
Mrs. Epstein.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Community comments. I know how many people are actually online at this point. Can somebody who has the stream going let me know?
22.
Okay. Welcome to everybody who's watching out there. Community comments for people that are watching. The comments are open, and we invite comments and questions. We won't be able to answer them tonight, but questions that we can answer will be answered if you, and they'll be posted as part of the minutes. So all of your comments and questions will be posted along as part of the minutes of this meeting. If you post a question that you'd like to have answered, please include your email address so that we know where to respond. Okay. The opening statement by the president is next. I would actually just like to again thank the board for electing me to a second term as the president, and I'm looking forward to working with everybody. It's going to be a challenging year, but I think I know we are working very hard to prepare for the multiple and differing and changing contingencies that we are probably going to face. And I can't think of a better team that I would like to move forward with on these challenges. I'd also like to officially welcome Dr. Mioli. I don't recall if you were on, were you sitting at the table at the last board meeting, Dr. Mioli? Because as our newest administrator, assistant superintendent of curriculum, we welcome you. And I just don't recall if I've seen you so much in meetings over the last couple of weeks. I can't remember if this was one of the meetings I actually saw you at before.
Just one of those, another square on the screen. No, this is my first official meeting. Thank you.
Okay, well, that's good then. That's good. Thank you and welcome. I am actually now going to turn it over to Dr. Hines for his superintendent's statement, and for Dr. Shields as well. So take it away.
All right. Thank you, President Johnson. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Shields real quick, just to, as we always love to do, go over the enrollment report. However, I do think this will become more and more critical as we move forward, with the new school year. But I'll turn it over to Dr. Shields.
Thank you, Dr. Hines. The last enrollment report was from early June, June 3rd, actually. So the numbers haven't changed on the enrollment report, but at that time we had 5,476 students. That was 30 students less than we had at the same time 1 year ago. Kindergarten enrollment, we have a new report from the kindergarten enrollment status dated July 1st, and we have 368 kindergartners currently enrolled, and that's on track towards our projected number of 385. So our class sizes are looking good at the kindergarten level at this time.
Thank you, Dr. Shields. Much appreciated. And again, welcome everyone. Just want to congratulate President Johnson, Vice President Weisberg, and Second Vice President Bays. It's great to see you all again. I think we all see each other probably more than we see our families at this point, because we are really diligently working to make sure September, as our kids start school, is a success. I want to again actually welcome Dr. Mioli, who has done a tremendous job in a very short period of time. So we're very thankful to see you on the Hollywood Squares here. And in my Hollywood Squares, you're in the bottom left portion of my screen, unfortunately, Dr. Mioli, but great to see you. And welcome, Trustee Epstein. Great to see you. And again, congratulations, Trustee Gilliar, for being reelected. This is going to be an unprecedented year. There is no doubt. And I've said this, and I don't mean this in a kidding way, but we do need to fasten our seatbelts for a lot of twists and turns as we not only this summer get ready for expecting the unexpected when our kids return, but we will have to pivot, I believe, often. And we are off to a good start, which I'll talk about in a little bit when it comes to some of the committees that we have going on. But before I get into that, I just want to update the community regarding the parent survey that the board had created and sent out, actually, and many of the parents in our community responded. For those of you who don't know and are watching, it is the results of this survey. They're on our website, and actually, if you go to our website, you'll notice right away a pop-up icon, and it'll prompt you to click, and then you'll have the results. And the results and the report is broken up into a few different parts. I'm holding a hard copy here. There's an introduction, there's a summary, things that parents believe we're doing well. There's also a component for suggestions as far as what we can do better. And then there's the actual data itself. So for those of you who are interested, that information is available to everybody. And I hope that you take advantage of that. It is, I have to say, it's a very important information, especially as we look to work toward, again, getting ready for September and beyond. At this point, President Johnson, did you want me to continue with the overview that we were talking about, or do you want me to wait until we get to that particular discussion item?
You're muted, Nora. You're muted. You're muted.
Okay, it was intentional. No, I just want to say that let's just, let me just do item 9, which is going to make a motion to accept the minutes of June 30th, 2020 of that board meeting. Do I have a second?
I can second it.
Okay, Mary, if you could read the names, and then we'll go right into Dr. Hines. I just didn't want to skip over something and forget it.
Totally get it. I appreciate that. So we have John, our video.
We have to
You
vote.
want to say something, Deb?
I
Sorry.
just want to do the vote.
Sorry,
First,
my apologies.
Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. Weisberg,
Yes.
Ms. Bays,
Yes.
Ms. Brooks,
Yes.
Ms. Epstein.
I think I have to abstain. I wasn't part of that meeting. Is that correct?
Actually, Julie, I just found this out. We're voting to accept the minutes, not approve them.
Perfect. Then I approve them or accept them. Thank you.
Sorry. Okay. Ms. Gilliar,
Yes.
Mr. Greenstein.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, now take it away, Dr. Hines.
I mean, I was just so excited to get into the presentation. So we have our video engineer extraordinaire, John. So John, if you wouldn't mind if you could dial up the document that we would like to showcase. Thank you. All right, so what we see on our screens right now is the work or the starting of a work from one of the subcommittees, our communications subcommittee, which I'll talk about. Actually, Ms. Bays will talk about in a few minutes. So clearly, there is a lot of planning that is taking place to get ready for September. And I want to be very clear as far as where we are, not only as a school district, but some of the things that we are waiting for, and not just us, but all 700 plus school districts in New York. We are still waiting for guidance, not only from the governor, but also, I think, just as, if not more important, from State Education Department. And that's not pointing fingers, it's just a fact that as of now, we don't have guidance, and school districts are left to formulate and to begin to create plans to get ready. And what this document will showcase is that there are two distinct edges that we have to really focus on. One is reentry and what that means. And the second is, from an instructional standpoint, when we take a few different considerations into taking that into place as far as different constructs, to really begin to unpack that if and when we have to go to a full distance learning operation like we did before for the past several months, a hybrid model, which again we'll talk about in a second, and then if students actually do come back in September, which I think everybody here hopes that is the case, what are we going to do to plan to make sure everyone's safe? So when you look at this particular document, you'll see the goal of the reopening plan. And I'm not going to read everything verbatim because then we'll be here till 11 o'clock at night. However, basically what we wanted to do with this, the goal of the reopening plan is to make sure that we are coordinating our efforts to ensure that everybody is safe, that we are taking every measure into account. And when you look at the guiding principles for reopening, you'll see some of the different bullets there that talk about the fact that we want to promote continuity and excellence of instruction and education to make sure that the community health and safety at all times in our school buildings are in place. And then, of course, making sure that we are creating plans that remain within the limits of our community approved 2021 operating budget. It's critical that we have flexibility for all the different potential scenarios that will come into play. And again, I'll talk about that in a second. So John, if you wouldn't mind just going to the next portion, thank you. So what you'll find with the reopening committee, and what we're calling it is a pathway to success as far as what this document showcases, we have two major committees that are very, very large, that one is focusing on the reopening aspects of it, and I'll get into the details in a second. The second has to do, again, as I said before, the instructional component and what that means. And what we're looking at is the potential, and I think what's going to be very difficult that we're focusing on is the hybrid portion, where if students do come back, and we have to really focus on socially distancing and all those different things, and we only have X amount of students in the building, we have to look at not only protocols and all these different things that come into play, but looking at those things at all different levels, the elementary, middle, and high school level. All right, we'll go to the next page. Thanks, John. So let's focus on the reopening committee, and this is chaired by Dr. Shields, who is doing an outstanding job. And within this larger framework of the reopening committee, we have a nice cross-section of our school community. We have administrators, we have teachers, we have our school nurse, we have a school nurse, I should say, who are the unsung heroes throughout all of this. To be honest with you, we will be asking so much of not only our nurses and educators, but our nurses play a real pivotal role clearly as we move forward. We have a Board of Education representative, and then we have community members. And you can see the names who are present there as well. Now, from that large reopening committee, we have subcommittees that you can see in orange. There's a health and safety protocol that looks at district-wide what we have to do. There's special education on mental health, which is going to be incredibly important, not only for our students with disabilities, but the mental health of our students, and I will say certainly our staff and our parents as well. Transportation and food service. What are the decisions that we have to consider and focus on? Building protocols. And again, when we talk about the building protocols, we're looking at it from an elementary, middle, and high school perspective. And then the subgroup or the subcommittee, I should say, of communications, which its first charge was creating this document for the community to see. From there, when we look at the elementary school, as far as the building protocols, it's broken up then into each individual elementary school, as you can see in gray. And within those particular subcommittees, we have a cross section of community members as well. So we have administrators, we have educators, we have parents, and in some cases, we have medical professionals as well, which is offering their guidance as well, which is critically important. So if we move on to the next page, we're looking at one of the first subcommittees, which is health and safety protocols district-wide. And we're very fortunate to have Jim Rustano, who's chairing that. And again, when you look at the members, it's clearly stated who the individuals are. And in advance, I'd like to thank everybody who has already taken the time and will continue to take their time to make sure that they are focusing on these different priority areas, which are outlined below in gray. Without going through every single one, they're looking at purchasing materials such as PPE, the equipment, sanitizers, thermometers, protocols for school visitors, all the way down to protocols for when a student or staff member tests positive. So there are so many different things that we have to consider, that this committee has to consider, and then come up with recommendations for a plan. Moving forward to the next page. You see the Special Education Mental Health Committee, and that's chaired by Dr. Allen. And again, you'll see there is a vast amount of committee members who are taking their time to work on the different committee priority areas, such as mental health, and having a plan in place for, again, everybody that we're serving. Creating contacts with local agencies, all the way down to communicating to students and staff in advance, or reopening as far as what's going to take place. So there's a lot of different things that they are considering that they will recommend to the larger committee, and that work has already begun, which I'm happy to report. So moving on to the next page is the transportation food service portion, and basically this committee again is chaired by Mary Callahan. And you can see, again, we have a number of members who are a part of this particular committee. Right now, they're assessing the capacity of buses and drivers, where they are looking at bus routes and seating with social distancing. There are so many recommendations that are out there right now. And I'm happy to report that Dr. Shields and all of the committee members, there's a huge repository of plans that are out there right now, and whether they are in different states or different organizations that have their recommendations. So we are drawing upon their expertise as far as what they look like, and we're updating that almost daily, but certainly weekly. We are updating the information that comes out. And then looking at lunch and snack and packaging, and then kitchen staff PPE. So there's a whole range of things that we have to consider when it comes to transportation and food service. Okay, moving on to the next committee is building protocols. Now, as you can see here, there are three. Well, there's the larger committee, which is chaired by Dr. Bonnie Cohn. And you can see, again, we have a great cross-section of committee members, but it's broken up, as I said before, into elementary, middle, and high school, different subcommittees to that subcommittee, lots of committees, but basically their priority areas, and it's really vast, such as classroom usage, from seating and spacing, breakfast and lunch, what does that look like, passing time, all the way down to extracurricular activities and athletics. There are a lot of things. And that's the next page, John, if you wouldn't mind, sorry. Thank you. For them to continue to look at and to make recommendations to the larger committee as far as what they're looking to discuss and uncover. And again, I want the community to understand that these meetings are taking place again with no guidance from SED and or from the governor's office. And it's critical for you to know that, because we're attempting to control what we can and to focus on what we can control, which is a lot of these conversations right now. So moving on to the next committee, which is communications, and that is chaired by myself. So Emily, would you mind if talking about this for a second? Because of all the committees, and I'm not saying, listen, they are all incredibly important, but I think the charge of this committee is to ensure that everybody in our school community, both inside our school community and outside the community itself of Port Washington, knows what we are doing and is up to date with information. But I'll just turn it over to you, Emily, if you don't mind, about this particular committee.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Hines, which is exactly the point. I think the goal of the communication subcommittee was exactly that we communicate with all the stakeholders at the same time what the goals are of each of the committees and what the plans are with regard to reopening and what the plans are with regard to the curriculum changes if we need be. So what we're seeing tonight is a product of the subcommittee in part of their goal being to make sure that everybody knew what we were all working on and making sure that everybody knew where, who was on the committees are in fact meeting and the work that they are planning to put together. And I have to say that it's not only a goal of the subcommittee, it's a goal I know of this entire Board of Education to make sure that we do a better job, a more refined job of communicating with the community. And it was important for us to make sure that all stakeholders got the same information, that there wasn't any question about what parents knew or what community members knew or what our staff knew, what our students knew, that we wanted to make sure that everybody had the same information at the same time. And so it's our goal to be giving weekly updates to the community through your chat that you'll be doing, Dr. Hines, and as well as posting all of this information on our website on the pop-up page that we've had since middle of March on the COVID-related items. So that has been our goal, and we hope to be doing it better and better.
Thank you. Yes. So, and the goal of this particular subcommittee for communications will really cross-pollinate not only with the larger committee that Dr. Shields is spearheading and chairing, but the same for what Dr. Mioli is chairing as well, which will go to the next page, if you don't mind, John.
Can I just interrupt for 1 second? I'm sorry.
Please.
I forgot to mention one thing. It is the goal of the committee and of the Board of Education to get this document translated. So it will be translated. We literally just got it this afternoon finalized. And so we wanted to make sure that the community saw it tonight, but it is our goal. Once we have it, we will post the English version of it, but we will have it translated as well.
Thank you. Yes, that is. And again, as far as communication is concerned, not only the translating, but we're going to see how we could reach out to, different parts of our community as well to make sure they get it and not just post it on the website, which I think is critically important. So moving forward with the instructional committee, this is chaired by Dr. Mioli. Boy, he's been here for about a half hour in his new role, and he has hit the ground running, doing a superb job of really facilitating a large membership within this large community. And as you can see on this page, there's the instructional committee, and then what they are looking at, as I said a little bit earlier, looking at 3 different models. Even though it says remote learning and hybrid, but we also have to consider, if and when our students are coming back fully with everybody here, what does that look like, and what accommodations do we have to make? But within the instructional, in the orange, you'll see then we are looking at, different potential models for the elementary, middle, and high school. And I can tell you, as someone who's sitting on both committees, both instructional and the reentry, there's not only a lot of great conversations, but there are real solutions to what we are looking to move forward. So just moving on to the next page, if you wouldn't mind. So with the elementary committee, this is actually being chaired by Dr. Suzanne, and that's a very large committee, as you can see with the membership. When we look at the middle school committee, we're looking at Beth Javelin as the chair, and again, great representation at both the elementary and the middle school. Not only do we have in the larger committee educators and teachers and board trustees, we also have our paraprofessionals as well, which is incredibly important to have their voices heard moving forward. And then finally, moving to the last page, you will see the high school committee is chaired by Dr. Pernick. Again, we have really great representation there as well. So all in all, we have a lot of different people who have who are very passionate about making sure that we have a wonderful plan in place and being able to pivot at any point in time throughout the year. That is critically important as we move forward. And when you look at the last page of this document, yes, there's one more page to it. It is the timeline and the calendar as far as what we're looking to do to make sure that not only do we have something for the Board of Education as far as recommendations are concerned, as far as having a draft ready by July 20th, we're looking to finalize, hopefully, our plan by the end of July, July 27th, and then to not only articulate that plan, but to disseminate it to the community at large, which is almost a full month before school begins. And I think it's incredibly important for the community to know that, yes, we started this a few weeks ago, but it's still a very compressed timeline where multiple conversations and meetings have taken place over the past several weeks and will continue to do so as we move forward. So with that being said, that is, as Ms. Bays was saying, this will be the first document that's coming out to the community in regard to the work that's taken place. And we are taking this work not only very seriously, we are trying to turn over as many rocks as we can. There will be answers that we don't have at this particular moment because I can only speculate how many questions are still there. But to the best of our collective abilities, we will make sure that our kids are safe, our staff is safe, and instruction and social and emotional health are at the forefront of what we are doing, with the child at the center of everything that we're doing. So that's what I have for you right now, President Johnson. Open up to any questions, and I know that Dr. Shields and Dr. Mioli are here in case there are some questions that are a little more nuanced that they can certainly jump in as well.
Thank you very much. Dr. Hines, do any board members have any questions or comments, or any other administrators have anything they want to add to the presentation that Dr. Hines just gave?
I'll say something, because I always have something to say, which is that our lack of comment should not be construed as anything except that the committees are so great. You did such a full report. There's no reason for us to have to say anything, but it's not that we're disinterested.
Thank you for clarifying that, because that is absolutely correct.
Good point, Larry. Good point.
Anybody else? Okay.
I actually would like to say something. So I'm on the transportation and the food committee, and we kind of meet separately. We do the transportation, and then we do the food. And I just have to say that people on the district side who are in these positions really know their stuff, and I'm getting to know what they do on a much more intimate level. And where busing and food are concerned, there's just a whole lot of sticky stuff to try to work through. And I can say with certainty that the people in this district really have their thinking caps on and are trying to think through all the different permutations without guidance from the state or from state ed, and are really, really racking their brains to do the best that they can to do right by the kids in the community. And I say that with all, I don't want to give platitudes, I'm saying it with complete sincerity. There's a lot of knowledge going on behind the scenes, and I'm very grateful to be working with these people. So thank you for including me on the committees.
If I can add something to that, Nora, if you don't mind, and thank you for saying that, Deb. There's a lot of things that we learned over the past several months, and I think it's incredibly important that the community understands that there are some things that we did okay, some things we did well, and there's some things that we can never do again, right? And I think we're taking that very seriously. The feedback has been very helpful moving forward, and I agree. We are really looking to make this experience as difficult as it will be. And I think it would be silly for any of us to think that, come October, November, December, everything will be okay. It's going to be an ebb and flow. It's going to change often. It's going to create anxiety. And I think the plan that we're putting in place right now allows us, or will allow us from an educational standpoint, in my estimation, again, I don't want to get too ahead of myself, to pivot and to make it where it's not going to impact children as much as it really could. And that's incredibly important, and again, keeping the child at the center of all of this. Every adult that is on this committee has something to contribute. And I think it's incredibly important that the board and all of you are on a committee or more than one committee. And I think it's not only helpful to you, it's incredibly helpful, I think, to all the committees to have your input, because there's a lot of value to that. So I think we're learning as we're going through this process, and I'm looking forward to what that final report looks like when it's in your hands in early August.
Nora, can I just add something as well?
Of course.
With regards to the communications committee, one of our goals as well, and I neglected to say that, and I'm actually informing everybody on the board as well, is that we're putting together a form that would be uniform to be sent out to all the subcommittees and to all of the committees of the information that we will be looking to collect on a weekly basis, so that everybody has a consistent type of message or information gathering, and that we will use that form. And from that form, we will then put together, a synopsis on a weekly basis. That is our goal. So we're trying to make sure that the messages, that we're getting consistent information from everyone, and that, trying to think of everything that may be forgotten or were not forgotten. So that is also one of the things that the communication committee is working on now. Going forward is trying to get consistent information from all the subcommittees. I just forgot to add that.
Thank you for that. And that is so important, that it's the communication piece is like a whole separate entity in itself almost, with all of these changes coming so quickly. Like I like to call it almost like whack-a-mole. We think we have one area quasi set, and then something else comes up because the situation changed or the regulation changed, or we realize new things. You look around and you say, well, this problem is like a domino effect, creating something else. But we're working on all of these things, and the communication piece, getting it out so that everybody knows what we're doing and what we're doing and what their kids need to be doing, and how much we're trying to work together is really important. And getting through this together, as we've said so many times before, is going to be key. Okay, anybody else have any comments on the plan so far? Okay. Committee reports. I am going to, the only committee actually that I believe has met since the last board meeting, unless Emily, correct me, did the policy meeting take place before the last board meeting, or was it after?
God knows if I remember the dates anymore. Dr. Shields, was it after? It was after, wasn't it? I think it was after.
I don't know.
I believe it was after the last board meeting.
I think, I don't know.
Would you,
Who we numbers anymore, the dates. And we did discuss, so do you want me to give an update as a
If
policy?
you're prepared.
Somewhat.
I mean,
We discussed a pandemic policy. We also discussed a data privacy policy, which we believe we will have on the next board agenda or the August board meeting for a first read. We also discussed, you know what? I don't remember what else we discussed. Dr. Shields, can you please chime in because I don't remember what else we discussed.
Those were the two most important items from the last meeting that we had. So I think.
Thank you.
okay, well, thank you for the report. The other committee meeting, which I had not given a report on, is the diversity committee, which actually met several board meetings ago, but due to other issues having come up, I didn't give a report on that. And since diversity and inclusion and equity are such a big part of our goals for this coming year, I want to give a report on what transpired at the diversity committee meeting, which is actually very reflective of goals that the board is going to be working on along with the administration, Dr. Hines, other members of his cabinet, and the rest of the staff. You know, we all reacted, and this is what we discussed at the meeting. We all had our reactions to the murder of George Floyd. And Dr. Hines prepared and sent out a letter to the entire community expressing the sentiments of the board and I believe his administrators. In the longer term, we talked about eliminating implicit bias, microaggression, and of course, outright bias and racism in the district. And these have become, they always were, but we're putting them front and center as objectives. One, I don't want to get too into detail because as we develop more plans, there'll be a lot more to fill out. But one of the things that we plan to do as a board is to look at models of restorative justice as opposed to the type of consequences and punishments that now appear in the Code of Conduct. So and the reason for that is because there is a disproportionate discipline, not just here, but disproportionately, especially male students of color are disciplined more. And that's not, as I say, not a Port Washington thing, but we would like to look at restorative justice, and the policy committee is going to be doing that early on, revising, hopefully, the Code of Conduct and moving into a restorative justice model. We're also, and this is going on right now, redoubling our efforts to recruit professionals of color. Again, we have a diverse staff. We want it to become more diverse. There are really no minority job fairs right now going on due to the COVID situation, but the administrators have been reaching out and doing recruiting at teaching colleges and universities and other methods and reaching out to other organizations so that we recruit more diverse applicants. Another goal that we'll be working on is closing the achievement gap. That's a non-negotiable. The district spent over $160,000 on outside translations and interpreters during the 19 to 20 year. And that's not even including the translations and interpreting done by our many teachers, EAs, and TAs who are bilingual. For the coming year, we've purchased 5 DigiWave translation devices, with each set includes 30, each device includes 30 headsets, which will mean that every building has access to a device. All recorded district meetings, by the way, on YouTube or can be translated, so people whose primary language is non-English can listen to them in their own language. The closed captioning text, from what I understand, can be read in Spanish, but the other languages aren't available. We will be addressing more translations live during our meetings. That is something that we'll look at later in the summer and when school starts. And all of these initiatives are going to help. There's other things that we want to do as well, where we have had preliminary talks about hiring a diversity coordinator who would, among other things, have expertise in bringing about the type of systemic change that we're looking to make. We also, our educators are going to be looking at new programs to support minority students and others so that they stay in school and graduate. And focusing on increasing the participation of various diverse groups in more of our accelerated programs, such as STEAM, honors, AP classes, and providing educational other supports that aren't available to students that have more financial resources. There's no immediate fix. This is a work in progress, but something I think most importantly that we're all very committed to working on. And I wanted to get that in. I'm bringing it in under the diversity committee meeting because, as I say, all of this was discussed at the diversity committee, but it goes beyond that. It's really a institutional changes that we're looking to make. Does anybody have any questions or comments regarding that?
I do.
Larry.
Okay. Everything you said is right and everything you said is there. And I'm sure everybody in the district is actually committed to doing it. But we've been talking about it for years and we still have an achievement gap. We still have a discipline gap. We still have a mostly white staff. And, it's time to stop talking and actually do something. So I'd like to see real concrete plans, not we're going to study it, we're going to look at it, we're going to get back to you in 3 years. I'd like to see what we're going to do right now to fix these problems and set a timeline and set a deadline and actually do something positive instead of just talking about it endlessly.
Okay, well, thank you, Larry. And as the board knows, but the people that are listening don't know, every year the board sets goals, and our goal setting meeting will be next week. And these items will be on our goals. I know that the superintendent sets his goals as well, and we work together to fulfill these goals over the course of the year. So I'm optimistic that we will be well on the way to achieving these goals. Like I say, it's not, it took a long time, not just in Port, it took a long time to get to where the country is. So it is going to take work and determination and commitment to change things, but I think we have it and want to do it. So I am personally optimistic.
More optimistic than me.
Sorry? What did you say?
You're more optimistic than I am.
Okay, well, that's okay. We're up to the action items. Before I proceed with the what would otherwise be the consent agenda, I do want to pull out item 12.3.3, and that is the Board of Education, and we haven't accepted it yet, we will, but the Board of Education is going to be accepting a donation from Hearts in a large amount of money to be used to fund the virtual summer art and music program for the summer of 2020. And it's a great program, a great initiative. And I just want to give a heartfelt thank you to Hearts for making that happen. And it doesn't say on my list, but on my agenda, but to the whichever administrators have applied for it or teachers who have applied for it, and are working on it. And the student volunteers that are going to be working on it too, which is amazing. And if any of them or their parents are listening, thank you very much. Okay, now the going to go do some of the action items under what we call the consent agenda. I'm going to make a motion for items 12.1 through 12.6. Do I have a second?
I can second.
Deborah. Mary, if you could do the,
Certainly. Ms. Johnson,
yes.
Ms. Weisberg,
Yes.
Ms. Bays,
Yes,
Ms. Brooks,
Yes.
Ms. Epstein, Ms.
I'm sorry.
Epstein,
Was that me? No. Okay.
Ms. Epstein, Ms. Gilliard,
Yes.
and Mr. Greenstein.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now we're on item 13, which is the Board of Education committees. I just pulled it out because we have some, we formed our committees prior to tonight's meeting and we have to approve them. But I just want to mention that this year, the curriculum committee will be Rachel Gillier, Deb Brooks, and Larry Greenstein, and the administrative liaison for the first time ever will be Dr. Dave Muley. So we look forward to the work that they're going to be doing. Policy and personnel will be Emily Bays, Rachel Gillier, and Julie Epstein. The administrative liaison for that is Dr. Shields. And finally, the last of the standing committees, budget and facilities, we have Beth Weisberg, Jeb Brooks, and Julie Epstein. And we have Mrs. Callahan, of course, as our administrative liaison. Lastly, we have the audit committee, which Beth Weisberg has very generously offered to sit on, and we appreciate that. So this will be our committees. The committees after this meeting or sometime after this meeting, usually it's right after, but we're usually in person at this point. We'll meet and pick a chair, and then they will be developing each committee's separate goals for the work that they'll be doing in the coming year. Okay, I'm going to make a motion to approve the appointment of the committees with my recommendation. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor, as per Mrs. Callahan?
Mrs. Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. Weisberg,
Yes.
Ms. Bays,
yes,
Ms. Brooks,
Yes.
Ms. Epstein, Ms. Gilliard,
Yes.
and Mr. Greenstein.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. Does anybody have any old business? Doesn't have to be that old. Anybody have any new business?
Just a point of order, Dr. Hines was mentioning that we might be having a public session next week to approve some things which are not listed under 19 under meeting dates. So I just thought we might want to correct the record.
And alert people to the fact that that meeting too, which will take place on Tuesday next, is that correct? Next
14th.
Tuesday at 12:30. And that too would be live streamed and the public is welcome to participate, although it's probably going to be a very short meeting, so don't change any major plans. But definitely the public is encouraged and invited to come. So no new business.
Nora, can
Yeah.
I just add something just for the community's sake? I think there have been questions on the chat on the YouTube channel with questions on how we will be responding. I just wanted to reiterate or kind of remind that if someone wants a specific response,
Oh, yes.
they need to put in the chat their email address, because right now we just have their names. we do not have an email address associated. So I think we mentioned that in the beginning of the meeting, and perhaps people didn't hear it. So we will have a copy of the questions that are in the chat that will be put as part of the record. But if someone is looking for a specific answer to a question, we need an email address so that we can respond to them.
Alternatively, if you have a question that came up over the course of the meeting, you can also just put that question into an email form and send it to the board, and we can take it that way as well if that's more convenient for you.
Correct. And the address for that is boe@portnet.org, and we all get that email.
Nora, do we want to read any of these comments into the record? Is that necessary?
No, I think we said that they were already going to be put in the record by the video engineer. He was going to include it in the record.
Just making sure.
Okay, well, as we said, the next short board meeting will be next Tuesday. What is next Tuesday at?
The 14th.
14.
It's Bastille Day.
Oh, right. Okay.
Bastille Day.
Right. Okay. So there will be a meeting on Bastille Day at 12:30. The link will be posted on the website. After that, we will have a meeting on August 11th, which will be our next full board meeting, and that'll be that's a Tuesday night, and it'll be the usual 8 p.m. with the live streaming.
I think it's currently on the calendar for August 4th, but that'll be changed.
That will be corrected, yes. Okay, well, I think that wraps it up. I want to thank the outside community members who have watched this. Thank you for coming. And I want to thank everybody who's here, on my screen. Thank you again, and have a great evening. See you tomorrow. Good night, everybody.